Coming up tonight, Pope Leo XIV reacts to the Yelewata massacre in Nigeria's Benue State, few days after the atrocity that left over 200 dead. Also, students from the School of Business at the Catholic University Institute of Boya engage in pre-defense session at the university campus this day. Plus, Restore the Lands is theme of this year's World Day to combat desertification and drought. Cameroon joins the globe to commemorate the annual observance with the objective to restore degraded land, secure food, water and livelihoods. These are our top stories tonight. Details and more in a minute right ahead. A gracious evening to you all, dear viewers. Huge thanks for joining us on this second edition of Divine Mercy Prime for this week. It is the 17th day of June 2025. I am Sama Aidin for presentation. We begin the news in neighboring Nigeria, where with the outbreak of the massacre that happened in Yelewata, in the Benue State of the country, involving over 200 people being killed on June 13 and 14, 2025. It has been met with immediate response from the Holy Father Pope Leo XIV and the local Church of Nigeria. Bernard Asongne took a keen interest on this story and compiled the next report.
Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
In the face of untold suffering, violence and killings, the people of Yelewata Estate, located in Benue, Nigeria, mourns and protests for inhumane acts of killing that has claimed the lives of over 200 people in that state. Witnessing to this terrifying suffering, the people continuously cry out for justice and security. With the voice of the church, which is never silent and which stands today and always as the voice of the voiceless, Pope Leo XIV has offered words of consolation and prayerful wishes of peace and security justice back to the people of Benue State, and has described the incident as a terrible massacre.
Si è verificato un terribile massacro in cui circa 200 persone sono state uccise con estrema crudeltà, la maggior parte delle quali erano sfollati interni, ospitati dalla missione cattolica locale. Prego affinché la sicurezza, la giustizia e la pace prevalgano in Nigeria, paese amato e così colpito da varie forme di violenza. E prego in modo particolare per le comunità cristiane rurali dello Stato di Benue, che incessantemente sono stati vittime della violenza.
Following this prompt response from the Holy Father, the local Church of Nigeria, under the leadership of their bishops, headed by the President of the Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, have championed the procession for justice, peace and security on the people while condemning the acts of killing that tampers on the dignity of the human person.
We therefore appeal to the government to immediately put a stop to this unprecedented wave of violence and brutality aimed particularly at Christians. We also call for the arrest and prosecution of those behind these senseless killings that sow the dangerous seeds of hate and distrust among the various segments of the Nigerian society. We are sad. We are in sorrow and grief. But we are confident that the light of Christ which shines in our hearts will brighten the dark corners of the Nigerian society.
Faced with the crisis period that leaves wounds and deep pains in the hearts of the people, the church continuously stands as a bearer of hope for a better and peaceful Nigeria.
In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus, we shall conquer.
Moving on, the pastoral plan or life of Mamfe Diocese came on the review as the diocesan pastoral team gathered for an evaluation meeting. The session, which held at St. Francis Pastoral Center, brought together priests, chairpersons, secretaries of parish pastoral councils, formation teams and finance councils from across the diocese, supervised by the Bishop of Mamfe, His Lordship Aloysius Abangalo Fondong. Details with Menadesh.
The gathering was part of the ongoing implementation of the 10 resolutions adopted during the Diocesan Pastoral Week in October 2024. This evaluation meeting served not only as a reminder of those decisions, but also as a platform to assess progress made so far.
Actually, there were 10 of them, and we saw that if we can continue with this kind of evaluation, it will help us to at least remember what we have decided or planned to carry out, and where we are lagging, we will get up from sleep and work and go ahead, and where we are already succeeding, we'll continue to forge ahead.
Chief Shepherd of Mamfe Diocese, His Lordship Aloysius Abangalo Fondong, emphasized the significance of having a clear vision.
Planning interim goals are planning the plan gives us any sense of accomplishment even before the final goal is achieved. Already now, for some parishes, we know that we have started this program for RCIA, and we are seeing how it's progressing. If you are sincere with yourself, I think you find in your heart some fulfillment that we are on the right track.
Diocesan Pastoral Director, Reverend Father Robert Ntongwe, gave his appraisal of the diocese pastoral life, pointing out that while progress are being made, many parishes still struggle to fully celebrate the parish pastoral week at the small Christian community and mission stations, and often fail to submit their calendars of activities on time.
It's not actually fair in our dignitaries, our parishes, mission station, and SCC. Where the team exists, they seem to be there only in name, with hardly any program of activity.
Reports presented focused on the resolutions of the Pastoral and Economic Week, the functioning of various parish structures, implementation of the rights of Christian initiation of adults, and the status of ongoing parish projects.
Trying to follow up the 3 years program for the doctrine classes against baptism, the RCIA program that was implemented. And we have a good number of children who are taking part in this program. We also have this formation of the parish pastoral formation team. The bit I can say is that so far I think this vision is important because it gives us a mindset that we have something to meet up with.
The session also addressed challenges faced by parishes, but acknowledged that steady improvements are being noticed across the board.
We're trying our best, but the challenges of rural exodus, we're still counting on people to come back home. We're still counting on people to come back home to see how we can push a lot of things ahead. Still encouraging that schools should come back. We have enough schools because all these programs need a lot of literacy, a lot of the learned class to assist.
With the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province set to celebrate 25 years of the implementation of its provincial pastoral plan, this evaluation was deemed timely as Mamfe Diocese works toward aligning with the vision and spirit of the border ecclesiastical goals.
Introduction to the pastoral plan was theme of this week's catechetical session held at St. Anthony of Padua Parish on Monday, June 16. Sitting in for Bishop Michael Bibi is Reverend Father Martin Jer, who expounded on the historical background of the development of the pastoral plan of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province. Franklin Fomkong has details.
What is the pastoral plan?
Monday, June 16th, another session of the weekly catechesis at St. Anthony of Padua Parish, Buea Town. Sitting in for the bishop was Reverend Father Martin J. Moka, who taught on the introduction to the pastoral plan.
The pastoral plan is a strategic outline which is meant for guiding the spiritual growth, development, and the ministry of a faith community. And this is typically within a specific time frame.
Father Martin then explored the historical background of the pastoral plan, citing several preparatory sessions held in view of the establishment of the pastoral plan from 1995 to the year 2000.
Citing Ecclesia in Africa, number 106, they actually had to improve on a concrete application of what the Synod Fathers held. Thus, the task of drawing up such a pastoral plan was entrusted to the 7th Catholic Conversion of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province. What they did is that they had now representatives from all the dioceses, priests, members of the Institute and Consecrated Life, the ICL, members of the Society and Societies of Apostolic Life, the SAL, and then they had equally, members of the lay faithful, religious men and women. They came from all over the suffragancies, the dioceses, and they actually formed a conversion which was in charge of preparatory work and to carry out this great task. Now the 51 members drawn from all over the diocese of Buea had a commitment to actually carry out a thorough and in-depth study, firstly, of Ecclesia in Africa. The session was held from Wednesday the 17th of March to Sunday the 21st of March 1999. This was a 5 days of rigorous work, and there were 640 delegates coming from within the ecclesiastical province of Bamenda.
Those present for this week's session sought clarifications pertaining to the pastoral plan, to which answers were given. With the introduction of the pastoral plan this week, next week's teaching will also be based on the composition and implementation of the said plan.
Let's now take you to one of our academic institutions, St. Joseph College Sase, wherein the presbytery accommodating pre-7 in the college is undergoing some renovation works. The project aimed at giving the building a new face is spearheaded by Reverend Father Desmond Dikum, an ex-student of the college, along with other students. Hilarion Tuko from our newsroom made a stop at the college and points out in the following report that this is the second renovation project the priest from the Diocese of Dallas is spearheading. His report. We'll be coming back to that story. Let's move on to this next one on education. The topics that seek to fill the gaps in the world of business in the nation and beyond. Students from the School of Business at the Catholic University Institute of Buea CUIB focused on this while fine-tuning their final year projects in a pre-defense that is taking place at the campus of the institution. Aloysius Leke, the following tells us that some students on their work and sought to know how their work will impact a change in the nation. Take a listen.
Students from the School of Business at the Catholic University Institute of Buea, CUIB, are having their pre-defense for their projects in a bid to see the areas covered so far in their work and to make necessary corrections. The students each took turns to present their work in front of a jury, and their supervisors, who keenly listened, evaluated the work and gave directions on what to do in order to make their works complete before the defense proper. These students, after presenting before the jury and their schoolmates, say it went on well, though with few challenges which they will go and implement in their works.
Student of the Catholic University Institute of Buea. I study accounting under the School of Business, level 400. So we are here to do the pre-defense. It's a preparatory defense ahead of the final defense for the final year students of Catholic University. So the defense passed well. It was okay, but it was though challenging because we actually had to understand our difficulties and everything that we were told was necessary for the final defense. So we'll make sure to put in place all those corrections were given by our supervisor and the jury, so we can be able to do our final defense correctly.
We are defending our project. That's the pre-defense before our final defense. Well, it was not bad. It was not that bad. The defense it went smoothly. I did encounter some challenges, especially in my chapter 4, but the jury and my supervisor gave us the necessary corrections which I have to include before my final defense and
Each academic work is channeled towards filling a gap in the society, and these students explained to us the reason for the choice of their topics and how we go a long way to help the society around us.
My topic was assessing the effects of management accounting practices on the performance of SOWEDA. The topic is in line of what I'm interested in, management accounting. Management accounting practice, I chose it because I wanted to evaluate how management accounting practices are being implemented in SOWEDA's day-to-day activities and how it boosts their organizational performance.
Well, my topic is the role of fintech innovation in enhancing liquidity management in Cameroonian banks. I chose this topic because liquidity management is very crucial and it's also a problem in Cameroon in general. But since I'm in Buea and I decided to focus in Buea, I've noticed that most banks don't meet up with their daily obligations when it comes to maybe cash flow and liquidity. So that's what I'm trying to emphasize on, that banks should, or financial institutions in general, should be able to include financial technology in their activities to enhance liquidity management.
It should be recalled that the Catholic University Institute of Buea, CUIB, recently signed a specific agreement with the University of Buea on SAH, BSc and BTech courses, all to enhance proper training for all who seek knowledge in the citadel of saints and scholars.
Moving on, as climate change tightens its grip and land degradation accelerates, Cameroonians join the global community to mark this June 17, 2025 as World Day to combat desertification and drought under the theme Restore the Lands. The day is set aside by the United Nations since 1995. This day calls for urgent global action to restore degraded land and secure food, water, as well as livelihoods for billions at risk. Magdalene Uwunda completes the story.
Across Africa, land is more than soil in its identity, security and survival. But today, over 45% of the continent's land is degraded. On World Day to combat desertification and drought, the question is asked, can the land be restored? And if it is being restored, what doors might it open? Desertification is not just an environmental issue, it is a silent emergency which threatens food security, and when the land dries up, so does the harvest, income and hope. Asabalinda of the Regional Delegation of Environment outlines the causes of desertification.
We have the northern region, sometimes part of the Adamawa, actually suffer from this excessive, a lot of overgrazing, especially on a particular piece of land for longer periods of time, actually provokes or could lead to desertification. And so that implies these concepts can either be triggered by human or natural phenomena. The human phenomenon, like we're talking about the overgrazing, we're talking about the deforestation, because those are human actions. And now the natural phenomena like climate change and global warming.
Desertification and drought affects food security, livelihood, and social stability. But in the face of crisis, communities are innovating because it does not just destroy the soil, but it also degrades the human dignity.
Realize that in the North region, there are a lot of projects that have gone out, that are going on. We see that things even like their waste, there are different methods of eco stoves, other methods of fire, instead of firewood, to replace firewood that are used by these people. Now they have things like biochar that are being produced from their waste product. So instead of throwing waste plantain peels and all of those organic, what do? They use it, they burn it to produce what they can use in lighting their fire, instead of going to fell down more tree, because they even need the trees first of all.
Combating desertification can also reduce migration and conflict, but it must start with the individuals.
So those of us who are still here, we should be careful with what we do towards the environment. Environmental protection is the responsibility of each and every one of us. So all of us are called upon to come on board and to see how we can do. Let's be able to transform even the climate constraints into what? Developmental opportunities.
The World Day to Combat Desertification and Drought under the theme Restore the Land was first celebrated in 1995, set aside by the United Nations to promote public awareness and international efforts to combat desertification and drought.
Back to this story at the St. Joseph's College concerning the project to rehabilitate the presbytery hosting priests serving in that college. The project aims at giving the building a new facelift, and it is spearheaded by Reverend Father Desmond and Dicum, an ex-student of the college, along with other servants. Hilarion Tukov made a stop at St. Joseph College, Sase, and points out in the next report that this is the second renovation project the priest from the Diocese of Dallas is spearheading. Take a listen.
Reverend Father Desmond Dicum Esoban is spearheading this renovation project at St. Joseph College, Sase. In 2024, he led his fellow servants to renovate the college chapel. Now in May 2025, Father Dicum is once again at the forefront, working on the renovation of the residential structure for priests serving at his alma mater. A priest from the Diocese of Dallas, he is collaborating with his fellow ex-students, amongst them Russell Adamu, who is in charge of overseeing this project, which aims to completely transform both the exterior and the interior of this building.
The project is carried out by Father Desmond from the United States of America, and it contains renovating the whole building, from the floor to the ceiling to the roof to the zinc to the toilets and everything, changing everything, getting it to a new state. So far we have gone about 40% of the job.
As of June 16, 2025, the roofing has been completed with new zinc sheets replacing the old ones. However, there is still more work for the carpenter, who is tasked with repairing the ceiling and addressing other areas that requires his expertise.
The old zinc, right? We've changed the old zinc already. We'll put new zinc already. So what's left to be done now? We have to put the two leaves. We have to put the two leaves. Then that's for outside.
Originally earmarked for completion in 1 month, the project is now expected to extend to 2 months due to additional detail work that needs to be done.
We estimated for 1 month because we're struggling to do very, very fast, because Father was supposed to be coming anytime soon. But so far we realized that we cannot do it in 1 month. We have an extension of like 2 extra weeks, so that we're talking about 1.5 months. Hopefully by the 15th of July we'll be done, latest.
The plumber on site is nearing completion of the first phase of his work, which involves installing the necessary pipes in all toilets. This also applies for the electrician.
That's already fitted. Just left to close up. Then the tiler comes now and puts his tiles. already been done. They just need to close up the holes. Yeah.
It is important to note that after completing the chapel renovation in April 2024, Father Desmond Dicom did promise to embark on another fundraising drive among the Soban community and his friends to support the renovation of the residential structure. The ongoing work is a fulfillment of that promise. Gratitude is also due to the bishop for his open support, permitting ex-students to contribute to the growth of their alma mater, St. Joseph's College, Sase.
Now, Cameroon's Minister of Social Affairs, Pauline Irene Guéné, has resounded government's efforts in the protection of children's rights as well as strides made by the state to ensure that they are included in the state budget. She was speaking Monday, June 16, as the country joined other African countries to commemorate the Day of the African Child, an annual observance instituted by the Organization of African Union in remembrance of the Soweto children massacred in 1976, protesting against educational inequality. Details right ahead.
Planning and budgeting for children's rights, progress since 2010 is the theme of the 2025 edition of the African Child Day, commemorated every June 16. This theme emphasizes the need to assess how effectively national plans and budgets prioritize children's rights and identify areas for improvement since the year 2010. Cameroon's Minister of Social Affairs, Pauline Irene Guéné, sheds light on what the Cameroonian government has been doing so far.
The theme chosen this year by the African Union, Planning and Budgeting for Children's Rights, Progress since 2010, is an invitation to reflect collectively on the progress made, but also on the challenges that remains to guarantee the fundamental rights of every African child. It is against this backdrop that the Ministry of Social Affairs wishes to make his voice heard, share the progress made in our country, and renew the commitment to children, the pillars of our future.
The state of Cameroon designs its state budget to include the social welfare of children.
Through point 22 of President Circular number 1 of 23rd August 2022, on the preparation of the state budget for 2023, the President of the Republic instructs to pursue the commitment contained in the national gender policy and extend this type of policy to other vulnerable persons, in particular persons with disabilities and the economically vulnerable. Children are included in this last category of persons mentioned in the presidential circular.
The Day of the African Child, instituted by the Organization of African Union (OAU), is in honor of the 1976 Soweto massacre.
It's a day to honor the incredible resilience of children and to reflect on how far we've come in ensuring their rights across our continent. But what if I told you this day was born out of a tragic event? On June 16, 1976, thousands of black school children in Soweto in South Africa bravely marched to protest the poor quality of their education and the imposition of the Afrikaner as language of instruction. This peaceful protest, known as the Soweto Uprising, tragically ended in violence, with so many young lives lost. This powerful moment inspired the Organization of the African Unity. Now, it's the African Union to establish the Day of the African Child in 1991. The Day of the African Child is a crucial platform for the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. This charter is a groundbreaking legal document that outlines the specific rights and responsibilities of children in Africa, ensuring their protection, survival, development, and participation in society.
It is worth noting that this year's theme also highlights the importance of engaging children in these processes to ensure their needs and perspectives are considered.
It is on that note that we wrap up this edition of the news. We remind you of our top stories before we pull the curtains. Pope Leo XIV reacts to the Yelewata massacre in Nigeria's Benue State few days after the atrocity that left over 200 dead. Also in this news card, you heard that students from the School of Business at the Catholic University Institute of Boya engage in pre-defense session at the university campus. Plus, restore the lands is theme of this year's World Day to combat desertification and drought. Cameroon joins the globe to commemorate the annual observance with objective to restore degraded land, secure food, water and livelihoods. I have been Sama Eileen once again, thanking you all for viewing. Keep it locked down on Divine Mercy Radio Television. Up next is Mountain Echoes. Good night.